seen it.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio, the Sunday bonus edition. It's where I'm here to help you discover legal issue blind spots. Usually that's a court case or some legal issue that's not being talked about in the media or the mainstream media anyway. Today, Shannon's with me for the Sunday show. She has been with me for lots of Saturday shows, but this time we wanted to devote the Sunday show to something that actually has been mentioned in the media, and that's immigration. I like to talk about immigration with you because you practice in that area for a long time.
And I love talking with you about it because you're so rational about it, logical and rational.
I try to be.
I trust you're not going to hit me over the head if we have a difference of opinion. I mean, I know you value all opinions, and you're just a really cool person to talk to.
People frequently tell me their opinions, and I'm okay with it. I don't get upset. See, that's what I don't understand about society.
Right.
Is people get upset.
Current society.
Yeah, you have this other opinion, and for some reason we can't be friends. I think that we can be friends.
I do too. I really firmly believe that. Maybe we're not going back in history far enough though, because I mean we did have a civil war in this country.
That's true.
There were issues where people did not get along.
Yeah, imagine Facebook and the Civil War.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. But see, I'm thinking like and I know you are too, I'm thinking of like the 80s, you know, when you would just have a discussion and you could agree to disagree. And debates were debates where they talked about ideas and not whether they were going to call your kid a name or something, you know?
Well, back then, conversations were more intentional and deliberate. You know, you had to call somebody up or you had to go to their house. I remember going to my friend's house. I mean, he didn't have a phone. He didn't answer the phone. And so if I wanted to talk to him, I had to get on my bike and go to his house.
His house didn't have a landline in it?
Well, it did, but he didn't answer it. You know, the parents, you know, maybe they weren't home. I was a latchkey kid. Mm-hmm. And so I was free to roam.
Yeah.
And so if I wanted to talk to somebody,
would be called these
I had
days.
to go. Oh, yeah. Child Protective Services.
Yeah, you were free ranging.
I was neglected. Yeah. Well, let's talk about immigration.
I want to talk more about your bike riding through the neighborhood, going to your friend's house. Sounds magical. You get an ice cream at the convenience store.
I didn't really enjoy my childhood that much. It was more like not something fun to do. It was like, oh, I gotta ride my bike and. You know, I wasn't a very athletic kid.
Really? Why not? You kind of have an athletic build now.
The family was athletic, just not me.
Oh, you were studious, you mean?
Right, yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, back to immigration. Let me reel you in.
Okay. I'm here for it. Let's do this.
How did you get the idea that we should talk about birthright citizenship?
Well, it's in the news, and I have a feeling, and I'm going to do my best to not get political. I'm kind of apolitical. I love everybody. You're Republican, I love you. You're Democrat, I love you.
But you heard a news story or something.
I know for a fact, I've got friends on both sides of the political aisle, you know. I know for a fact that some people just bought something that they don't know what they're getting. You know, everybody's really happy. I have a ton of friends that are super happy that Trump got elected. Mm-hmm. And they have a certain idea in their head about what is going to happen next and what this all means, what a rational immigration plan looks like.
Well, I know that President-elect Trump has said that he wants to deport illegals.
He has literally said that he wants to do mass deportation. And by the way, I used to be really a stickler about people are not illegal. So it's an undocumented person. So I've kind of come off of that stance a little bit, and I'm now going to be rebranding immigrants as post-birth unborn babies that are situationally challenged. It's all branding.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Because all my friends, they voted. I know they voted because they love unborn babies.
Right.
You know, and God bless you for that. I mean, that is like a really, beautiful core value. They're voting for life.
Right.
But then there's other things where they're getting something as part of that package that I don't think they've been fully educated on.
Okay. I see your point there. So how did mass deportation lead to the question of birthright citizenship?
Well, he has said literally that he's going to do that. And so in my head, they're kind of two separate issues. So I don't know if you want to talk about them together or divide them up.
Well, I still want to find out how that question of birthright citizenship came up in the news, because I didn't see that.
Just came up. But have you seen it now? Like, did you Google it and see the headlines?
No, I didn't do my homework.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're forgiven. You get an A+ still. It's just literally on the table. That's just something that they've been incredibly clear that they want to do that. It's not
to change it from birthright to something else.
Right. So right now, currently, if there's a human being, a baby that's born on our soil and its parents are undocumented, citizenship will naturally, apply to that baby. And so I think the reasoning is, well, there's birth tourism. So, if you're a person of lower resources, it's not going so great for you in your country, you're going to do everything you can to get here to the United States, and you just, got a golden ticket for your child.
I'm familiar with this because I had a friend in junior high who knew that that's how he got here.
Oh, wow.
And I was just a little kid.
Yeah.
And my friend Gilbert, he said, yeah, my mom came to El Paso to have me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what your listeners and viewers are going to think of me, but I would do it. I would do anything in my power to get here. If I was about to have a child and I was not doing well in my country, I would do that for my child.
For your kids, yeah. I didn't research the news about why this is coming up, but I did do some research on how the U.S. came to have birthright citizenship.
Right.
And it actually started over in Great Britain.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't.
Before the U.S. was even born, there was something called Calvin's case. We got our common law from Great Britain, from case law, and so there was a question with this Calvin's case about whether this child was going to have the same rights as other royalty. That's all I know about it. But that's
just enough to get me interested.
Yes, but that's where it started. And then I read an article about how the framers of the Constitution just took that same idea that they just didn't think that it would be any other way. If you're here and you intend to make this your home, then you have the same rights as everybody else that lives here.
Right.
Intends to make it their home. And the only person that wouldn't have those rights is if somebody were just passing through, like a traveler.
Right.
But that's beside the point.
Well, not really. That's exactly the definition. Or if like a diplomat was here on United States soil and they happened to give birth at the time, then citizenship would not automatically convey. Well, but what I was reading was, and I had not known this until I started researching for this, that here in the United States, it was a response because we had the Dred Scott case.
Right.
That I found that really interesting. I did not even know that. I've never, it's something to me that's so ingrained, I never really even thought I had to question it. But I started, being very introspective. Why am I having such an emotional reaction to this idea? And I think I've just really internalized that we are an amazing place. You know, we are the United States of America. There's something incredibly special about us. We say that we have inalienable rights here. So we rejected that we have to have a king, you know, that our rights come because some man said that we have them, or some royal queen or something. Our rights come to us straight from God. These are inalienable
and that's
rights.
what I like about birthright citizenship too, is that it's not, these aren't rights that come to you from the government.
Right.
These are God-given rights.
So the government can't take them away.
Right.
And so I really started unpacking that. And then, of course, you know that section of the Constitution that says person. So the reason that we have this protections for people that are not even citizens is because it says person. There's it says not citizen, it says person, that all persons will have rights. But at the time, I think it was 1857, when Dred Scott was the last thing that the Supreme Court had said. And so we as a country were trying to figure out, well, who is going to have these rights? Do Black people have these rights? Do Native Americans have these rights? You know, throw women into the mix. You know, who gets these rights? And I've just fallen completely in love with the idea that you can't be creating this second class group of citizens where they are here, but they do not have the same rights as everyone else. It fundamentally violates who we are, our DNA. And I hate it. I hate every part of this idea. But I think it's terrible.
I think people have forgotten about that because, you know, I like to talk to my friends about these issues.
Right. I'm sure they have a logical reason. Well, it'll stop birth tourism. You know, we've got to stop the flow, you know. But see, the way I analyze that in my brain is, look, we're amazing. We're the freaking United States of America. There's a reason why everyone wants to come here. So the answer is not, let's make us suck. Like, let's take away what's great about us so people don't want to come here anymore. That's not the answer. We talked a little bit about the United States as kind of like an attractive nuisance. We studied that in law school.
Right.
That if you've got a pool in a swimming pool in the neighborhood, you know, you've got all the neighborhood kids, you put a fence around it, you have some duty to keep those kids from going in there and killing themselves. Yeah. Well, that's what we are. We're the United States. We have abundance.
People are attracted.
So the answer to our woes, and I completely agree, we do have woes, like we do have ailments, we do have problems, but the answer is not, let's make us not so special so people don't want to come here anymore. That just doesn't sound right to me.
No, but our messaging maybe needs to change.
You talk about that a lot. Yeah, I want to hear more about that.
Well, because I've been to the Statue of Liberty many times, and I've seen the sign. It says, come on over.
Right.
And Juan talked about that
Yeah.
when he joined us. And I think that people in their little villages, you know, in little corners of the world that don't have TV or internet or radio, they still know about the United States.
I know for a fact, yeah. There are very patriotic people that are not citizens, and they have really bought into this idea, you know, like our movies and our culture really has permeated the world.
Right. And so they want to come here and they think, come on in. They don't know what the requirements are. They might be getting information from criminals, you know, as to how to get in.
Right.
You know, they might not be calling the State Department and asking, you know, what forms do I need to fill out?
But are we going to talk too about that there are just industries? I was up in Virginia, and there's a huge lumber industry up there. And so I would get calls from people who owned the mills, and they would try to get me to somehow figure out a way that their workers could have legal status.
Oh, right.
And they literally would be going out of business because they couldn't get American workers to do that job. I mean, I would hear tears in their voice. Well, but what am I supposed to do? And so it would force them into this situation where they were breaking the law because they were hiring undocumented people. And there's a lot of industries like that. The chicken...
in Missouri.
That's the whole chicken industry is notorious for that. The dairy industry. I think it's just a reality that there are some jobs Americans don't do.
So even if we do need people and Americans don't want those jobs,
right?
Well, does that mean that we should let everybody in?
Well, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. That would be terrible.
Right.
So we've kind of come full circle because what you and I are talking about right now is a rational immigration policy. And that's what everybody, 60% of the country, or I mean, he won by a pretty good percentage.
Yeah.
Everybody just voted for that. And they all have a different idea in their head of what they think that looks like.
Right.
And it probably doesn't include that their longtime yard man is going to get deported, or that their neighbor, they have their own version in their head of what they think it looks like. And they really honestly think that that's what's about to happen. Well, I lived through a Trump administration before. I have seen things, on the ground. Like, I can practically 100% guarantee that whatever rational thing you have in your head, that is not about to happen. That is not what's going to happen. And I don't know why it can't just be fixed and logical and let's deport criminals and keep good people here. And
well, let's talk about how it is that so many people could come.
Okay.
So I think it's asylum.
Okay.
Is that it? I mean, everybody that the 10 million people that came in over the last 4 years, they're not all illegal, so to speak, or even undocumented. They have a document.
You're not going to go with me on my branding? The post-born,
I can't remember what you said.
Post-born, unborn babies that are situationally challenged.
But if you're claiming asylum, you have they have an app or they have a document, right?
Right.
So they're not really illegal then. They're not really undocumented.
Correct.
They have a document.
Right.
But they're just awaiting their court date.
True.
And it might be 10 years.
20 years from now. Yeah.
And so for a mass deportation to happen, they need to see a judge first, right?
Right, but I don't think when I hear mass deportation, I'm not thinking of asylum seekers.
Well, I was just thinking that all of those people would claim asylum.
Oh, good point. Okay, so everyone's going to get... So the thing that starts it all off is a notice to appear. What happened before, there was a chicken plant in Mississippi, and there were 600 people that were rounded up in a raid. And so they were completely undocumented. They really had not...
no status.
Nothing that had put them in the system before where they would have a pending case or something like that. So they were just basically rounded up by ICE and just, deported. So the chaos that ensued after that, the legal fallout, I'm kind of just scaling that to a national level.
But what was the chaos?
Well, it was a very tiny town. So when you take 600 humans out of that situation, it was felt by the community.
So the plant didn't have employees, I guess.
The plant didn't have any employees, yeah, but that was kind of the least of their problem because the community had... these gaping holes where people had been. So stores would close that had been providing food for people. The school bus, drove up to empty houses that day after school.
Wow.
And so the people that came in and saved the day, I can almost see them. They're good-hearted, church-going people.
Well, you know what that makes me think of? That show Left Behind.
Yes, it does make me think of that too.
Like the rapture.
Yes, I need.
Part of the society is like, where did these people go?
I mean, there's a really good article on it, and they went in and studied what happened. It was just chaos, and it was nothing but pain and hurt. And the people that are so traumatized even today, well, they're U.S. citizens. I mean, they were born here, the kids.
Right.
And we're going to have to deal with that. If we were living in that town, Todd, you and me, we would have personally dug into our pocketbooks. We would have had bake sales. We would have gotten the whole church together, and we would have taken care of these people. The fallout of these policies, the people that are going to bear the brunt of trying to ease the human suffering, are just the good-hearted people that have always made this country great. You feel me?
The humanity of it.
Right,
but let me go back to...
I'm kind of random, huh?
How is this going to work where undocumented people are deported, but their children are citizens because they were born here?
Right.
I mean, if you come in for asylum and you're here for 10 years, you might go on a date. You might meet somebody special.
You're going to have a job. Your boss is going to love you. Your boss is going to depend on you.
But they're going to have children.
They're going to have kids. You're going to buy a house.
And they're going to be citizens.
Right.
And so you can't just deport the parents without the children. And somebody asked me about, there's this other idea that the whole family would be deported.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
And so what happens if we deport U.S. citizens?
Right. You tell me.
I don't know. I mean, wouldn't that be like a civil rights violation? I don't want to get deported.
Well, do we even have rights? I mean, our rights are definitely diminished. If they have the ability to do that to a U.S. citizen, I mean, I'm a U.S. citizen, so my rights just took a big step down.
Right.
I'm not even convinced I live in a...
If the child gets deported because of who their parents are, what other reasons could a citizen be?
I mean, this is what we're talking about. I mean, these are the real issues that are actually on the table. So,
and I don't want my listeners to think that I think it's okay for 10 million people to come through the border without, going through the proper channels. I'm all about law and order.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, if anyone would ever doubt your motives or, have anything bad to think about you, they just need to watch a couple of your other videos. No.
I would like for the border to be an orderly process, because I don't want criminals or gang members or whatever or terrorists to come through.
Right.
They should be fingerprinted or photographed or whatever they do.
Right. Me too. I want to know who's here. And so that's another argument for keeping the birthright citizenship, which I can't believe we're even talking about taking this away. It would just cut us to our DNA.
I don't know that it could even be a serious discussion, because it's part of the founding fathers.
It is definitely a serious discussion. That is definitely on the table.
I think that people forgot.
Right, the history, right?
That the reason that we're citizens is because we were born here, not because of the wealth, rank, or honor of our parents.
Yeah, I think we forgot some really basic principles. And then the thing that tears me up too is all the money, Todd, we're about to spend, because there's a lot of organizations, a lot of advocacy groups. They're not going to just sit by and watch this happen. So This is just a recipe for litigation.
Well, maybe we can make that part of our law practices.
Oh, gosh. I don't know if
Well, my idea was that maybe I could be deputized as as an immigration judge.
Right.
And then I could hear some of the asylum seekers' stories, and then I just decide yes or no.
Right, deputized like in the Wild West.
Right. In order to process all of these 10 million people, you're going to need 10,000 judges.
Right.
New ones. And they're going to say, well, There's not enough immigration attorneys, so let's go to the estate planning attorneys and ask them for help.
Right.
Well, our show is about to end. I hope we talked about everything.
I want to talk about Reagan real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, he had a good idea. He had a good idea. Amnesty in the 80s. But we were supposed to shut the border.
Well, I'm not in favor of giving the 10 million people amnesty that came in.
Then you don't agree with Reagan? Man, it was brilliant. What else could he do?
I don't know. This isn't my area of practice.
Okay.
So don't hurt me.
No, I never would. You're a good guy.
I still need to learn. So we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.